6 hours, the United States and its partners have launched Operation Epic Fury. Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead.
This was never meant to be a fair fight, and it is not a fair fight. We are punching them while they're down, which is exactly how it should be. No stupid rules of engagement, no nation-building quagmire, no democracy-building exercise, no politically correct wars. Death and destruction from the sky, all day long.
Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade, the ground troops?
Yes.
One of the reasons I created Asha Align TV was because the world has gotten so distorted. I mean, we can't rely on our political leaders. We can't rely on our religious leaders. We can't rely on the media. America is filled with such propaganda that honestly, whatever you believe, there's media out there to support that belief, no matter what it is.
I feel like a lot of people are confused on why are so many Americans brainwashed by the American government, especially people in other countries. But when we talk about propaganda in American politics, I think it's so important that we talk about language, because the way things are worded is so intentional. The way they explain things, the way they label things, it's all to create a specific perception. No matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, we're all brainwashed. Like if I say doggy instead of canine, you're picturing two completely different things, even though it is the same thing. Now, applying that to politics, right? Right now, everything going on with Iran, notice how the news is never saying the United States just bombed Iran. It's always the United States has carried out military strikes or precision strikes. But in reality, we're talking about a large-scale military attack. Bombs are being dropped, infrastructure is being destroyed, people are being killed.
So it's getting to a point where we're really going to have to find our tribe and build a community so that we can hold ourselves accountable and so that we can stay honestly grounded in truth and what's right. And before I jump into any other topic about anything else, I have to talk about what's been weighing on my heart. And we have to talk about what's going on here in America and across the world. And I want to be honest, just like I'm going to strive to be in every video that I make. So today we'll be talking about the war in Iran, and specifically we'll be talking about America's role in it. And I really feel like we have to stop seeing America as the good guy. And I know most of us grew up that way. We grew up very patriotic. I know I did. I went to a Catholic school. We said a Pledge of Allegiance every day. We sang songs like God Bless America, My Country 'Tis of Thee, all the above. I felt so patriotic growing up, and then 9/11 happened, and I'm like, wow, I hope they get those bad guys. I hope they defend our country. You know, it felt better. And even back then, like 2003 or whatever, 2002, like people were allowed to kind of, if you were a Republican, fine. If you were a Democrat, fine. It was like you can still agree on one thing, that you're American, right? Like you had one common ground, and now it just doesn't feel that way. And I remember when things changed for me. It's actually a funny story. I had went up to my uncle, and I was a kid, probably, I don't know, 11, 12, maybe even younger, but we had learned about George Washington and the Revolutionary War, and he was so brave, and he was on the front line, something that this current president would never do. But he was on the front line with the soldiers, and, you know, he won his independence for America against Britain, whatever. So I go up to my uncle, and I'm like, I really want to meet George Washington. And he looked at me and he's like, he wouldn't want to meet you. I mean, just literally that, no context behind it, nothing. And that's when I knew, okay, this country isn't really what I think it is. That's when I really knew. This country did not start with freedom. It started with the murder of Native Americans and the displacement of Native Americans. Then you had slavery, 400 years of slavery. Black bodies built the economy for America. Then you had the emancipation. Then you had Jim Crow and segregation.
What do you think of black people?
I don't like them.
Why?
I really don't.
Then you had civil rights, and even years after that, I mean, black families went through a lot. Just with slavery being our root, it just will forever and ever and never and ever change the trajectory. And I feel like a lot of us are coming out of that, but it's still there because America is a racist. It's built on racism. It's a racist society, and that's what's at its core. And I think we're kind of seeing that underbelly unfold in real time in the current politics and in the current leaders. You're seeing it on full display.
What's happening to our country is being poisoned, and your schools and your children are suffering greatly because they're going into the classrooms, they're taking the seats.
If you call them people, I don't know if you call them people. In some cases, they're not people, in my opinion, but I'm not allowed to say that.
And I say, why is it we only take people from shithole countries, right? Remember when they used to say that the people that come into our country as immigrants are very nice people.
Yeah, you mean like these people?
They make our Hell's Angels look like the sweetest people on earth.
You mean like these people?
The Hells Angels are now considered a nice, high-quality person. I like the Hells Angels. They voted for me.
And now America is known all throughout the world as occupied America. They call it occupied. We're being occupied by a criminal force. And we will put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail or kick them out.
But what the president has done is gone beyond racial profiling. This is racism. This is raw, rank racism when the president of the United States of America, who knows or should know the history of this country and how persons have used this image of persons of African ancestry to be associated with persons who are members of the monkey family. For the president to do this and to do it openly and notoriously is showing that he condones this level of racism.
Then even in America, you had Hiroshima. You had the atomic bombs. You had the Iraq war where they claimed that there were weapons of mass destruction that they never even found. Instead, thousands of U.S. soldiers were killed and thousands of Iraqi civilians were killed in that war.
It's all about the Middle East. It's always been. And whose interest are we fighting for? Is it the American people? If it truly, really was, then go back to 2003. You don't got to go back that far. 2003. Saddam Hussein, weapons of mass destruction. Like, what threat did that really pose against us, the American people? All to get over there and find out, oh, it wasn't even like that.
He talks a lot about how he didn't realize what he was actually fighting for. And then once he understood that, it was after the fact, after all the trauma, he realized wow, what did I just fight and kill all these people for? Was it just for oil and money to make these, politicians even richer than they already are? He talks a lot about that. And he just talks a lot about the trauma of war and the reality of war that these politicians will never talk about. They only want to talk about the glory of it. And
We negotiate with bombs.
And you'll be honored. And
A grateful nation honors the 4 Americans we have lost thus far and those injured. The absolute best of America. May we prosecute the remainder of this operation in a manner that honors them. No apologies, no hesitation, epic fury for them and the thousands of Americans before them.
And it's all BS.
You won't go do shit. You'll sit there behind your little computer screen and talk about how much you love war, but you never had to go see your friend's head blown off. You never had to taste your your friend's blood. I've had to do that. I've had to stick fingers in bullet holes. I've had to swim neck deep in water and taste my best friend who just saved my life. I've tasted his blood. And I've killed a lot of fucking people for it. Those people don't have to live with that. They don't have the dreams at night. They don't have the issues that we have, the guys who've been there, done that. So yeah, fuck a warmonger. I don't believe that. If I ever did become president, which I have no desire to, you better believe it's going to be like George Washington, but I'm black.
The people in the White House are total warmongers.
So who need to hear this? You know what I'm saying? I see a lot of people be talking shit about America. Hey, if you don't like America, go to another country, bitch. I love this country. I'll protect this bitch.
Yet their kids will never fight in a war, nor will they are not George Washington. They will never go to the front lines with these soldiers. Their kids will never, their adult children who are good and fit and strong and capable will never go to war. Instead, they're sitting home and they're collecting money. And instead, it's like a game for them. They're putting out memes and acting as if they're playing a video game while they're killing civilians after claiming, oh no, they do that, we don't do that.
But the only side that targets civilians is Iran.
This is a residential area in Tehran, or should I say this was a residential area in Tehran. Almost 8 houses are completely destroyed in one attack. Although Israeli American medias claim that they only target military facilities, but as we can see from the stuff that we can see here, this was a house where a family used to live. I'm going to show you some stuff that I could found here.
But yet we're doing it. And my thing is, there's nowhere to hide. We see it. So with all the history, all of America's history, you can kind of see the trajectory and you can kind of see the pattern. America is not the good guy. That's a common theme. Now, I'm not here to be a Republican or to be a Democrat. I actually consider myself centered, and I probably swing more liberal. And yes, Republicans freed the slaves. And yes, a Democratic president signed the Civil Rights Act, which is very significant because it gives people like me, a black woman, similar opportunities to my white peers. And notice I said similar, sometimes it's not always equal. Sometimes you can feel that microaggressive behavior. Can't quite call it out because it's incremental, but it's there, that underbelly. Because like I said before, America has a racist foundation and there's just no getting around that. But right now we have an administration in office that is proud of aggression, loud, boastful, arrogant.
Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel. B-2s, B-52s, B-1s, Predator drones, fighters, controlling the skies, picking targets. Death and destruction from the sky all day long. We're playing for keeps. Our warfighters have maximum authorities granted personally by the president and yours truly.
And so we have people in this country that before this man got elected, they never used to talk like this. We have them yelling, get the Muslims out, get the immigrants out. I want all of them dead, like very drastic, ugly, hateful rhetoric flying out of people's mouths.
Hispanic ass people don't deserve nothing in America. You understand? Nothing, bitch. You don't even deserve to sit around me, bitch.
And it's like, wait a minute. I didn't know you had a thing against immigrants or that you didn't like Muslims. And you can just tell that their mind is kind of being poisoned with the propaganda that is on the news.
A lot of them were let in here. They shouldn't have been let in. Others are just bad. They go bad. Something wrong. There's something wrong there. So the genetics are not exactly they're not exactly your genetic.
Outlets like Fox, let's say, they just run the same stories over and over and over again until you now have the person almost brainwashed that these people are evil, when unless you're a Native American, your ancestors were immigrants too. And it shouldn't matter what boat you were on. We are all human beings. And I was going to say we are all Americans. Some of us aren't, but there should be ways to implement, foreign people into our societies. Immigrants are some of the best citizens we have here in America. They're the ones who are dotting every I and every T, super concerned with how they function into society. They pay their taxes, like if they have jobs here, if they're on visas, they make sure they pay their taxes, everything. They're stopping at red lights and stop signs, and just super pleasant and super grateful to be here to change their life, just like our ancestors were. Well, for my ancestors, that was after slavery, but everyone else's ancestors that came on boats looking for a new life, they got that. So I'm just confused. It's like, well, where is this hate coming from? And it's actually pretty scary. And I feel like the current MAGA Republican, they go under Republican, but I don't feel that these people are Republican. I feel like there is a deep difference between a typical Republican and a MAGA. So you have this MAGA cult under Trump, under the Republican Party. And it's gang-like mentality. It's like, who are you with? Are you with them? Are you?
Who are you with? Who? Who's your government? So still, it's our country. We want it back. Fuck these Democrats.
And if you're with them, they're Xing you out. They don't care if you're American or not. And I just really, or if you go against them, if you criticize them, if you don't agree with every little thing. And I just think that is such a dangerous place for America to be in for the next couple of years. And honestly, I hope I'm wrong, but I could see the United States slipping into a civil war where it's this gang against this gang. And you can already see it happening. Even when you're out in society, you barely want to say hi to people. Well, people don't speak. People are uptight. You could tell that they're scared. You could tell that they're scrambling. I mean, many people are, truly in a mentally unhealthy state. And you can already see it, Let's talk about Iran. So, Iran. I just want to start with this. See, the way America and this current presidency likes to depict Iran is that, there's this third world country. They don't know anything. They're not capable. They're incompetent. And after kind of digging around, because I didn't know much about Iran, but after kind of digging around, I realized that's the furthest thing from the truth.
For thousands of years, there has been a land in the heart of the Middle East that the world has tried to conquer, reshape, and control. Yet somehow it keeps standing. A land of ancient kings, poets, scientists, and warriors. Today many people know it as Iran, often only through headlines about sanctions, conflicts, or politics. But the real story of Iran goes far deeper than the news. It is a story of resilience, identity, and survival that stretches back over 2,500 years. Before it was called Iran, the world knew this civilization as Persia. Under the rule of the legendary King Cyrus the Great, Persia built one of the most powerful empires the world had ever seen.
Persia was an English name that we used. The internal name that they used was Iran, so they renamed themselves as Iran. What a lot of people don't realize was after the Persian Empire fell and Iran was a growing country, they were our number one ally in the Middle East. People don't know that. Right now we say Israel is our only ally in the Middle East. It was Iran. We had the largest embassy ever in Tehran. We ran the CIA headquarters out of Tehran. CIA headquarters for all of the Middle East and Asia was all based out of Iran. That's how close we were with them, right? Now, what happened? Well, first thing that happened was they had a prime minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, right? In 1953, Mossadegh, well, in 52, Mossadegh nationalized their oil and said all of this oil belongs to Iran. Prior to that, Great Britain had been mining and pumping most of their oil. The United States, CIA, and MI6 did a joint venture. United States called it Operation Ajax. MI6 called it Operation Boot. You can look this up, right? We orchestrated a coup. We got rid of Mossadegh, and we took him out of power. In his place was Mohammad Shah Pahlavi, right? He was the Shah. Pahlavi, thanking the U.S. for getting him back into power, signed over 40% of the oil fields to the U.S. and Great Britain.
40%.
40%.
Wow.
Now think about if somebody signed over 40% of American farmland to another country. Americans would be pissed. Iranians were not happy. Now, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi was actually in power as a figurehead, kind of like the king, if you will, in Great Britain, and Mossadegh was the prime minister. Mossadegh got more power. We took Mossadegh out. Pahlavi takes power again, and he became pretty brutal. He had the Savak military or intelligence. He was a brutal ruler. Iranians were getting fed up. Iranians are like, we're nothing but an American puppet. American CIA and MI6 came in, removed our prime minister that was democratically elected, put the Shah in power. The Shah is being brutal. We're giving away all of our oil to America. America's running their CIA out of our country. They had a revolution, 1979. We're all familiar with that. 1979, they have a revolution and say, we're kicking the U.S. out. We want to be our own country. The oil belongs to us. We don't want you here running your politics out of our country. So after that happens, it's a pendulum swing. It was very secular, not very religious. And they're like, well, that didn't work. So in 1979, they said, we're going to put in a religious leader. And the pendulum swung over here, right? And that's where we're at pretty much today. So if you look at that, this is not a country that's just out there by themselves that said America is evil. This is a country that America orchestrated a coup in. This is a country that ran their CIA from their country and who took most of their oil. I am not defending them and saying that they're the good guys, but our hands aren't clean here.
I want to bring it back to this war. When it comes to this war, Iran is called a terrorist regime. And I get it. Their government is not ran by good people. They do run a tight, strict program over there. And anyone that goes against it is pretty much X out. And they do look at us as the great Satan because of how we manipulated their political system many years ago. And they looked at us as kind of poisoning their culture and making their sacred culture, like I said, 2,500 years of civilization. So they making their sacred culture more Western and worldly, and like that's how they look at us. But as Americans, we're supposed to look at Iran as this uncivilized nation who is full of terrorists, right? But here's the issue I have. The United States government is the one killing civilians. They're not bombing our schools. with our American kids. We are bombing theirs. They're not killing our civilians. We are killing theirs. And we are not acting to defend America. We're actually provoking war or initiating it for little to no reason. It's actually an unconstitutional war because Congress did not agree to it, and this president did it anyway. And I try to put myself in the Iranian shoes for a second, because if that happened here in America and they bombed our American kids, and even though I despise this administration, I don't like the hate that they are polluting the minds of Americans with, right? But if that happened, I would probably be like, oh, I see why the president wants to, protect America against these people. They're dangerous. So can you imagine what Iranians are now thinking? So in essence, the president is actually, anybody that was against this regime, they're actually pushing them toward the regime. Because now the Iranian leaders are able to say, look, we told you these people are Satan. They are the devil. And I have to call it how I see it. For you to take a child's life, a child, I don't care what type of child that is, if that's a Muslim child, a Christian child, a Jewish child, a black child, a white child, an Asian child, any child, no child is evil. Children are literally the light of the world. They are the purest thing in this world because that's how their mind operates. It's always hopeful. It's always loving. You can teach a child hate, but they don't really understand until they really get a lot older. And so for you to kill a child, and not only do you signal your military to bomb this school, who knows if they really knew it was a school or if they really thought it was a military base. You never actually know with this administration, but not even to have sympathy, not even to say, I'm so sorry for your loss, that was a miscalculation, just no accountability for children.
Did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people?
In my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Hegson? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
A modern Tomahawk missile is equipped with onboard cameras, real-time targeting imagery. Satellite imagery is constantly collected by several intelligence agencies, several countries in real time. Let's talk about what that satellite imagery would show of the Manab little girls' school. Murals. The entire school was surrounded by colorful children painting, flower, bright colored murals surrounded this school. And it was, without a doubt, a school if you looked at it through satellite imagery. No pause for review, no pause for investigation, no calls for this command to appear in front of Congress and report to the American people why we just bombed a school knowing it was a school. Nothing. Silence. Lies. Excuses. Who are the terrorists? Who are the bad guys in this story? This is the story of our timeline. By our own definition of terrorism, and I can say this as a former counter-terrorist officer, we are the terrorists. We are the bad guys.
I mean, broke my heart. So I can only imagine the rage, even if you hated your government in Iran, the rage these people must be feeling like, oh no, these people are evil. Or not people. I don't think it's targeted at us as American people. I feel like it's 100% targeted at the American government.
Hey American people, here is Tehran where Iranians keep chanting death to America every single day and night. But what does it mean? Let me translate it for you. First of all, I want you to know that when we say death to America, we do differentiate between the American government and the American people. Death to America means death to the interfering policies of the United States and death to your corrupt, satanic, pedophile leadership and politicians, not to the American people. This is the biggest lie you've ever been told since your childhood, that Ayatollahs or Iranians want to kill all of you Americans because they say death to America. We Iranians are the most demonized people in history, and if you don't believe me, just ask about the kindness and hospitality of Iranians from those who have traveled to Iran.
They don't hate us. They hate the government. They hate what the American government does. And right now, so do I. Meanwhile, American families here can barely make ends meet, are severely struggling with finances.
Can somebody explain to me in crayon eating terms why I make over 3 times the federal minimum wage and I cannot afford to live?
I got paid $9.49 and my bills equal $9.74. So I literally work to pay my bills. I never have money for groceries.
60% of the American public is about to lose everything they have. People living paycheck to paycheck are about to go broke. If you're in this 60% that has little or no money, please stop spending money. Protect your family. Trump does not care about you. Even if you voted for him, he's a billionaire. He won't suffer, but you and your family will. Please protect yourself.
So this president is filling his pockets, and this is how political leaders get extremely wealthy during war. Yes, some of that money will be used to go to the war, but you better believe that some of that will be in this man's pocket. And so his kids after he leaves office will be set. Meanwhile, we are struggling to keep food in our house, to keep the lights on, to keep gas in our car. And that $1.5 trillion, that could end all student loan debt. That could end homelessness multiple times over. And that can fully fund education for an entire generation. But instead, we use that money to start a war and make these politicians, these wealthy politicians, even more wealthy. I mean, this feels like a bad episode in that movie Don't Look Up.
The President of the United States is fucking lying! I think this whole administration has completely lost their fucking mind! And I think we're all gonna die!
It really does feel exactly like this. Like the movies are coming to life. And it's gotten so bad in America that the propaganda's gotten so bad that I have to go outside. And why is it that Iran is supposed to be the terrorists? Iran is supposed to be the uncivilized people. But when their leaders get up, they sound more diplomatic than our leader.
I don't know why the U.S. administration insists to start a negotiation and then in the middle of negotiation attack the other party. We were in the middle of negotiations, but this time we made a big progress.
Iran's reaction would be one of reciprocating any such attack. Our armed forces have made it clear that in case Iran's infrastructure is attacked, we would react in kind. Our armed forces would target any similar infrastructure that is owned or in any way or manner related to the United States or contributes to their act of aggression against Iran. This is not something that we will do it voluntarily or by willful decision. This is something that is as part of our defense measures against their illegal act.
They sound more agreeable than our leader.
We've won this. This war has been won. The only one that likes to keep it going is the fake news. I mean, the New York Times, you read the New York Times, it's like we're not winning a war where they have no Navy and they have no Air Force and they have no nothing. And we literally have planes flying over Tehran and other parts of their country. They can't do a thing about it.
Why is that? Why do I trust Iran's news over American news? That should never happen. But it's happening. Iran is going after the economy.
How much longer can Iran sustain the closure of the Strait of Hormuz?
Indefinitely.
Iran knows that if they hurt American pocketbook, that's how they will hurt the government. And even though you see that they are less equipped, let's say, they're still playing smarter. And that goes to show you money isn't everything. Having expensive equipment isn't everything. And that goes back to that 2,500-year-old civilization versus a 250-year civilization. It goes back to that. You can't outbeat it. You can't outsmart it. And so we're using all of our resources. Iran is going to make this very, very expensive for the United States. And in turn, we, the everyday people, are the ones that are going to pay until we do something about it. But we're going to be the ones to pay. And so the thing that bugs me out is that the United States government is deciding to kill and bomb civilians just at the beat of the drum to Israel. And it goes back to that saying your mom used to say to you, if your friends jump off the cliff, are you going to jump too? And that's exactly what we did. Israel said, no, they have the weapons. We need to do it now. And see, this whole scheme on Iran has been such a fantasy for Israel's prime minister.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb.
And it's been such a fantasy for our current president.
Let them have Iran. You take their oil. That's what
How?
How?
I mean, do we want a war? What do you mean we take their oil?
Why couldn't we go in and take over some of their oil, which is along the sea?
In America. For years, these two men have been playing with that idea of attaining land, attaining oil, and becoming wealthier. And they are doing this at our expense. And so they are bombing these people, killing these people, all in the name of God. And that is what I truly have an issue with. That's where I have to go spiritual with you for a minute, because even Jesus warned us about false prophets in high places.
Who is working with Donald Trump right now behind the scenes?
Mostly God.
We thank you for our President, Donald Trump, whose wisdom and courage has crushed the enemies of Zion. Today we rejoice in the prophetic scriptures of Ezekiel, revealing God's Operation Fury for the enemies of Israel.
Mr. President, no one has paid the price like you have paid the price. It almost cost you your life. You were betrayed and arrested and falsely accused. It's a familiar pattern that our Lord and Savior showed us. But it didn't end there for him, and it didn't end there for you.
To say no to President Trump would be saying no to God.
Not everyone that is yelling God is actually for God. And even back in slavery, the slave masters used God as a way to keep black people oppressed. This is not a new trick. It's a very old trick, actually. And I just find it astonishing that the MAGA cult, the MAGA regime, can get up there and talk about God and yell out a few Bible verses, and everyone thinks this is in the name of God. And I'm so glad the priest, I'm not Catholic, but I saw that the priest did condemn this. And he said something to the tune of, no war is ever orchestrated by God. Only peace is orchestrated by God. And I really respect that. But here's what I keep coming back to. And I know it's not about skin color or features, but it kind of is. Because I've been reading Revelation, and in Revelation it talks about how Jesus' skin was like a burnished bronze, and his hair, they said it was white like wool. Why would they say wool? That indicates some texture. That indicates color on his skin. His mother, Mary, a woman from Nazareth, likely had long black hair and dark eyes and olive skin. So the pictures that we've been given through the European society of Jesus with long blonde hair or brown hair, or Mary with blonde hair and blue eyes, it's just false. And it's just been heavy on my heart that the people that we worship so lovingly through scripture likely looked a lot like the black and brown people that are oppressed here in America and killed, likely look a lot like the people we are bombing and killing right now. So I don't see how this administration is out here claiming God. I don't see God in this. I see war, I see rage, and I see destruction.
President Trump does not bluff, and he is prepared to unleash hell. Iran should not miscalculate again.
We're crushing the enemy in an overwhelming display of technical skill and military force. We will not relent until the enemy is totally and decisively defeated.
I know God is frowning heavily on this, but even in Revelation, listen, Jesus, when he was alive, he had the biggest issue with who? Political leaders, religious leaders. And this is what we're seeing play out to a certain extent. And I know that there were articles saying that there are some army officials who are telling the soldiers that they're in a spiritual war.
U.S. military commanders have reportedly been invoking extremist Christian rhetoric about biblical end times, selling the conflict to American troops as a holy war. The watchdog Military Religious Freedom Foundation says it's been inundated with more than 200 complaints from members across all branches of the U.S. military.
Supervisors and commanders across the branches, both in the CONUS, which is the Continental United States, and internationally, were invoking the fact that this was great news. They were gleeful. They were joyful. They were euphoric because this was a signal that pursuant to the Christian eschatological aspects of the end times in the book of Revelation, that all of this was serving as, if you will, an accelerant or lubricant to bring their version of weaponized Jesus back.
And I don't see how that's any different from what the Iranians soldiers believe and with the whole martyring system. There are even preachers, American preachers, that are suggesting that our American soldiers should be martyring their lives.
Hallelujah. This is one preacher that's not backing down. I can tell you this, I will give my life for the gospel. You want to know why the Muslim faith has had its advancements? It's because the Muslims were willing to die for their belief. They were willing to strap bombs to their chest. They believed in the afterlife. God, give us some men and women that'll get a hold of some passion in their spirit that says, I will lay down my life for the gospel.
It's a whole big spiritual debate around this war. And I kind of see the same thing going on. Here's the difference. The Iranian soldiers, they're more unified because everyone believes that they're not afraid to die.
We are standing firm and working for the goals and interests of our country, and we have no hesitation about giving our lives for it if necessary.
Our American soldiers, we're not all on the same page with that. There may be some American soldiers that are giving in to the propaganda and are ready to die for this holy war that people are saying that this is, but a lot of American soldiers want to go back home to their kids and their wife and their family. So just on those two accords, we would not win this war. These are two totally different mindsets. The Iranians have been fighting for years and years to defend their land. This is nothing new to them. They've been preparing for this ever since they recognized that the Western government is the enemy. So this is going to be an endless thing. And I hate to see where it could go. And like I said, I see something very, very dark.
The entire country could be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night.
So which is it? Are you winding this down
Can't tell you.
or are you escalating
I can't tell
it?
you. I don't know. I can't tell. Depends what they do. This is a critical period.
And I'm hoping that this president can swallow his pride and ego, bring our troops home, and take his losses. But at this point, I mean, we're so far in, who knows what's next? Because I don't feel like he's going to stop. I feel like it's going to keep going, and these people are not backing down.
We are not asking for a ceasefire. And we don't see any reason why we should negotiate with the U.S.
This is to Trump. We're not scared. You can't scare us. We are Iranians. We're not scared. We're not scared of your bombs. You lack what we don't. You lack faith, what we don't. We have our faith. We have our faith on our soil, on our country, on our leadership, what you don't. You don't have courage. We have. You lack. Your soldiers lack courage. Our soldiers don't lack courage. So remember that. You're the loser. You're the loser in this war. That's for sure. You already have lost, and you know that.
And look, I don't have the answers, and I want to be honest about that. But I know what helps me feel grounded when the world feels like this. And it's getting into my faith. I've been reading the Bible, especially the New Testament is really good. The Bible is just like a guide to this life. You're going to see evil in high places. You're going to see corruption. You're going to hear of war. But it's about staying grounded in faith, because if something does happen, you know where you're headed, right? If something does happen, God has you and will protect you. And I want to point something out. This president talks a lot about God, but here's what he said in terms of getting into heaven.
A couple of weeks ago, you were doing an interview and you talked about how you hope to end the war in Ukraine because it might help you get into heaven. How does this help? Does this help?
I mean, I'm being a little cute. I don't think there's anything going to get me in heaven. Okay, I really don't. I think I'm not maybe heaven bound. I may be in heaven right now as we fly an Air Force One. I'm not sure.
I would never say, oh no, I'm never getting into heaven, unless I know that I have carried out heinous acts. And I feel that this president knows what he's done. He knows who he's involved with. He knows about the allegations. He knows about the murders. He knows about everything. And his conscience won't even allow him to even think that he would be going to heaven to be with Jesus. He can't even fathom that. That speaks volumes. Because a good-hearted person would really not think that way. So, staying into my faith, eating well, moving my body, getting outside, touch grass, go to the park on nice days, look at the trees, listen to the birds, things like that can really uplift your spirit during these times. And that's what's helped me. And don't forget to protect your peace. And right now is really the time to get with your tribe of people and to connect with people that will have your back. Because those times are coming where we're going to need to lean on each other. Everybody, American society is all big on being super independent and everything like that. Yeah, independence is great until you need your tribe and you look left and right and you have no one. So cling on to the people that truly have your back. Get rid of the people that don't. Because now is not the time to be around people who only take and will not give, who only think about themselves. Now is not the time. I'm telling you, it's just not. Save your money if you can while still enjoying life. If you can. I feel like we're up against some hard times, but like I said, these things can keep you grounded and can keep you feeling good. As American people, and I don't care what color you are, I don't care what political party you're affiliated with, I don't care where you're from, I don't care where your ancestors are from, because this is a country of immigrants. Hello, America, the melting pot. We, as American people, are going to reach a breaking point. We, as American people, need discernment. We need clear eyes to see. We need clear ears to hear. And we need to be able to know which way is up and which way is right when it comes down to it, because it will come down to it. And you need to know. You need to know who you're really standing behind. The time is now. This is Asha Aligns, where truth meets alignment. And today the truth is pretty uncomfortable, but we are going to stand in it, and we're going to walk through it, and we're going to do it together. And please, please, please comment. If you watch this video, thank you so much. Comment, let me know what you feel about the war. And let's just talk. Let's connect. What are you doing to prepare? And yeah, I just want to hear your thoughts during this time. And please, please, please protect your peace. Protect your minds. Ask God for discernment over your life. And yeah, please come back soon. Thank you for watching. Later.
The president, because I have to do it myself. I know it's not.